Join us on the last bus home.
That's why they do it in the basement, because it hides the smell.
Well, makes a lot of sense. Yeah, every day's a school day with you, Lee. So, what have you dragged me here for today?
Today's title is Something Bad Happened in the Attic and the Basement. Well, first off, attics and basements always scare the shit out of me. It's the room in the house where it's going to have the least kind of inhabited vibes going on. It's going to be the least decorated. I've always been shit scared of basements. Never really noticed it coming from Lincolnshire with it being all flat, but as soon as I got to Yorkshire, every single house.
They're the liminal spaces, aren't they? They just make people nervous anyway.
This is it. They're just terrifying. And I kind of thought, can we get an episode out of that? And I had a look in, and I was kind of taken back by all the ridiculous and insane stories. But yeah, we're going to cover a few stories, some of the ones that I picked that seem to be the most wild. Have a look into some paranormal activity. Some were just messed up. No ghosts, but I'm sure there's some dark energy when you go back there. Some fun stories as well. I even got a little cryptid. I'm just going to go into this one because there wasn't too much information, but in a basement in Enfield, Illinois, in 1973, reported was the Enfield Monster. So Henry McDaniel reported a creature coming in and out of the basement, described as having 3 legs, a short body, 2 arms, and glowing pink eyes. The creature left scratches on the door, which was later confirmed in a police report, and dog-like footprints with 6 toe pads. McDaniel one day actually fired shots at it, having had his reports kind of ignored by the police, caused it to flee. And his kids actually saw the creature lurking around the garden. Described it as almost like a human body, but alien-like, which was kind of like my first go-to. But not too much information on that.
So not a 3-legged dog?
Could have been maybe a muffed-up 3-legged dog that's escaped from the local labs. Who knows, mate? Could have been all kinds of weird shit going on. For the basement, I'm going to take us to what was pretty much the most messed up kind of basement I've ever seen or heard about. And it was in our own country of England, in Essex. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Cage in St Osyth. It's a historic 2-bedroom cottage with an extremely dark past. It's actually often cited as one of Britain's most haunted houses, so I don't know how we missed it in Britain's Most Haunted.
How many of the most haunted buildings do we actually have?
This is it. I'm sure there's plenty. And as we kind of figured out, each village lays claim to it, don't they? So
just as a disclaimer now, from here on, in any future episodes, when we refer to the most haunted whatever, it will be whichever one we're talking about at that moment.
This is it, yeah. We can't lay claims to, being the gatekeepers of that. But yeah, I mean, dark past on this one, so I'm all for the kind of energy lingering around afterwards. But it was used as a medieval prison, and it particularly caged those accused of witchcraft in the 16th century. So, it was just grim, absolutely grim. So the actual basement itself, it's called the pit in other words, but it's like a small cellar, approximately 6 feet by 4 feet. So we're not talking big. And it's basically, it's like under a secret trapdoor under the building, discovered by the owner, Vanessa Mitchell, which we'll move on to. Let's get into a little bit of the history of it. So, as I mentioned, it was served as a prison, a village lockup, medieval times, in 1908. It was used to detain various prisoners, including drunks, your standard criminals, but notably women accused of witchcraft during the...
That would make it a jail with a G.
This is it, mate.
Yeah.
Want a nice place. So the plaque on the property commemorates its role in the 1582 St Osyth witch trials, where 14 women were imprisoned, 3, including a lady called Ursula Kemp, who were all executed for witchcraft. So Ursula Kemp, she was just a local healer, midwife. She was accused of causing illness and death through witchcraft. She was hanged in Chelmsford in 1582 after a trial where neighbours testified. She was kept in the prison, unfortunately, and saw a dark end. So after its time as a prison, it didn't get much better. It was used to quarantine the bubonic plague victims, many of who died there. I mean, such a small space. I mean, 6 foot by whatever. It's seen its fair share. So I'd like to. I mean, I wouldn't say I'd like to spend much time in there, but I'd like to feel what's kind of going on down there. Obviously, the history like this, we're going to have a lot of paranormal activity. So I'll run through a few stories. Most of it goes around Vanessa Mitchell, who owned the property from 2004 to 2020. She kind of, I suppose, was able to get the most evidence gathered from the building. I don't really know too much about what it was before that. So obviously there was a long time where this building might have just laid pretty much dormant. But she reported numerous disturbing events. She claimed to have been pushed over while pregnant, hit multiple times by a ghost, taking photos of the bruises. She witnessed a ghostly figure of a man dressed in modern clothing, so no old school ghosts. Mysterious blood splatters were caught on the wall and again filmed, and she even captured a satanic goat on CCTV. Now, show me a goat on CCTV that doesn't look satanic.
That's it. What would make a goat satanic? Because, I mean, other than, having a tattoo or a brand of a pentacle in its forehead, and the fact that its legs crossed with 2 fingers up. But other than that, I mean, you look at a goat, the eyes are terrifying anyway. But does she elaborate on what made this goat satanic?
It's literally the satanic mascot, so I don't really know what they're doing with that. But
Maybe it was an ultra Christian goat. We don't know.
as well as Vanessa Mitchell's experiences, there were tenants who rented the property after Vanessa left, reported similar kind of goings on, some staying only a few months. There was some.
What was CCTV in the basement for anyway?
I shouldn't think she just wanted to capture it all. There was a lot of stuff going on down there. As it said, she did sort of gather quite a bit.
Keep an eye on the goats.
Yeah.
Goat rustlers. Yeah.
Exactly. You've heard those things when they start screaming. Imagine that in the middle of the night. No thanks. So other people, all the same stuff. So bumps in the night, usual things that are associated on this channel, as we've talked about before, with various poltergeist activities, things kind of moving around, but all centered on the basement. So looking into it, as I said, it's a very sort of small little place. And it seems to be the focal point for all the stuff going on. I mean, not much else about the house was kind of reported. So there's been visitors to the pit reported intense feelings, all the usual stuff that you're going to get with a small place that has basically just housed some really dark energy. During some paranormal investigations, access to the pit was kind of restricted, which obviously to the disappointment of them, but it was just getting to the point where it actually wasn't safe to walk down there, I think due to just kind of like crumbling bits. I mean, this is an old house. But yeah, I just thought that place was kind of cool. I think you can actually go there. I mean, I'm not sure they're going to let you down the basement, but you could probably see it. And I can imagine if, they're letting paranormal investigators in, then they must be onto some kind of little jibe, maybe a money-making thing. But
you see, you could really cash in on a haunted house within the Airbnb circuit.
Oh, this is it. Imagine that.
Because if you had a haunted house, you wouldn't be wanting to live in it.
No, not
at all. If you have, exactly. So if you can make some money off it, make some peas.
She missed a trick there. So we're going to have a look at an attic now. We're again with another pretty dark history. So we're going to pop over to the USA for San Pedro. Known as the Jackie Hernandez case, it's one of the most well-documented and disturbing poltergeist cases in paranormal history, again centering around the attic. So it unfolded in the late 1980s in a small bungalow on West 11th Street in San Pedro, California, primarily involving a single mother, Jackie, and her 2 young children. In November 1988, Jackie Hernandez, a 23-year-old single mother, moved into a modest little bungalow, and this is pretty much straight away where the trouble started happening. Noises, such as muttering voices and footsteps, were just emanating from the attic. She couldn't explain it. She didn't know what was going on. She heard things sliding across what I'm taking is like a wooden floor. A family cat chasing unseen shadows and constantly legging it up to the attic and doing its mental thing that cats do when they stare in the corner of the room for no reason and try and shit you up.
Yeah, they just do that on purpose. There's nothing there.
The first major sighting was one night early in 1989. Jackie awoke to check on her children, who saw a ghostly figure of a haggard old man leaving the room and going up to the attic. He had a lumberjack flannel shirt and denim suspenders. Staring at them as he was moving with menacing eyes. The figure vanished as it went into the attic. So it definitely seemed to be kind of the focal point, and these hauntings just increased in intensity. So by the mid-1989, paranormal activity just went up, ramped up, escalated, and it turned basically his family's life into a living hell. A lot of disembodied voices, whispers, lots of whispers seemed to be coming from the attic, and that would just be terrifying. Every time they walked past, they could hear stuff, which wasn't other members of the family. Smells, and I'm guessing awful smells, foul, and often described as chemical-like, just seeped down from the attic, as if something awful had just died up there. Again, the objects that were moving just seemed to ramp up, things sliding across really loudly, just gave them no chance to just get any sleep. They even saw more apparitions of what just seemed like corpse-like people going up to the attic, as if it's like capturing some little glitch in time, what actually happened up there. Mysterious orbs, but the family commonly sort of, well, came to know them as fairy lights, as you would when you've got kids. You try and put maybe a little bit of a brighter spin on stuff. Black shadowy mass, which always terrifies me whenever I read that in a ghost report, because that just takes me back to the smells, and I know just how terrifying that'd be. So we actually had a violent peak, and this was moving on towards the end of the year in 1989. Jackie was overwhelmed by the disturbances. She contacted paranormal investigator Dr. Barry Taff, who had investigated thousands of cases. So Taff, along with his team, filmmaker Barry Conrad and a photographer, Jeff Wheatcraft.
Yes, I know this one.
Yeah?
Yes. Yeah, I was trying to think where I knew the name from, the woman's name. Is this the hook and the washing line or something, the cameraman? Go on, I'll not steal your thunder, Mulder.
No, it's cool. You're definitely on the right track. So during the investigation, the team experienced equipment malfunctions, as these ghost teams seem to, with the videos just inexplicably turning off. The most infamous incident occurred in September when Jeff Wheatcraft was allegedly tacked in the attic. So while I was investigating, he reportedly strangled by a loop of rope that mysteriously tightened around his neck, nearly hanging him. The team rescued him just in time, and he was seen with visible marks on there, which was, again, later confirmed.
Yeah, there's actually footage. There's photographs, interviews, and video footage of all of it. But obviously, there's no video footage of the hanging. But there are stills of him with the rope around his neck before they rescued him. Just true to form, like anyone with a camera these days as well.
Yeah.
When it's filmed before you help that person. Yeah. It's not on Facebook. It didn't happen. Yeah.
This is it. And I think with things like that, obviously it's easy to stage, but it's all about the reactions, because at the end of the day, not many humans are like bang on actors that can maybe just recreate the sheer terror that actually that would do, where your whole worldview is just flipped and you're like,
Did he break his camera as well? And that stuff wasn't cheap back then.
yeah, this is it. Again, that stuff could be staged, but yeah, I mean, if it did happen, it's terrifying. But again, a nice little, well-documented case. I mean, like you said, there's quite a few videos you can sort of go on if you want to search those names we talked about.
How are they heading to the attic? Because that attic could only be accessed by a ladder or a leg up, because it was literally touching the ceiling. There was no staircase up there.
No, I'm thinking maybe even just a creepy float up. Moves along the hallway and just... Woo. ascends.
Like an abduction.
Yeah, ghosts don't need no stairs, man. Stairs be basic. They got the boys back and did a seance. So it was arranged by a neighbour, and they used a Ouija board to communicate with the
Which,
spirit.
as history tells us, is always a great idea.
Hey, man, yeah, don't F with Ouija boards. But it gave them some information. Not sure if it's true. They've communicated with an entity, and the entity revealed some information. So it was a man murdered in San Pedro Harbor in 1930s, clubbed with a lead pipe and drowned. Jackie had actually dreamed this. So it targeted Jeff because he resembled the spirit's killer, and he said this is why he attacked him. It was drawn to Jackie's...
Similar to Jack Smurl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. But yeah, it was drawn to Jackie's emotional distress, feeding off her energy. The entity claimed multiple spirits were present, emanating from the attic. Phantoms fill the sky around you, the spirit said. Very poetic for a ghost.
Yeah, they can't just talk straight either.
This is it. Riddles. During the seance, Wheatcraft was attacked again, thrown against the wall by an unseen force, so really didn't like him. If I was him, I'd just stop going back. You might as well, hadn't you? So yeah, quite a creepy history again, sort of focusing around the attic, but I kind of wanted to get a bit more stories. I mean, you see ghostly corpse-like figures heading up. What if there was something up there? I mean, you'd expect to see them in the pit, the basement, because of all the bubonic plague victims and poor old dears accused of witchcraft, but something happened at this place, and other than some spirit contacting on a Ouija board, I'm left a little bit kind of in the dark on that.
Is there any history on the building, like how old it is, or because
not too much?
San Pedro's on the west coast, and to be fair, that didn't get populated till quite late.
It didn't. I mean, all these experiences took place 1989 to 1993 when she finally hightailed it out of there. So again, I'm not too sure of the ages of the buildings, but I wanted to know which kind of country had the most basements, and I kind of thought it's got to be America. So it did come up. The Midwest region of the United States seems to have the most basements, and a runner-up was Canada. But country with the most attics was the Netherlands, and that's common due to it's got all those multi-story homes. 95% of the houses have 3 stories, so pitched roofs, which you're going to get. So always think the pitched roof. So any countries with flat roofs, you're not going to get any attics. So places like Australia seem to have the least attic because it's all got low-pitched roofs due to minimal snowfall, reducing the need for attics pretty much altogether. So I think America kind of win on both those grounds. Again, Australia's soil, it's just not right for a basement. So a lot of the stories were coming up from there, but I tried to get, much of the variation as I can. And like I say, I came across some which were just not really paranormal, but pretty much just a massacre happened. And again, I'm sure there's going to be some horrible stuff going on. So we'll bring it back to England for another basement. And remind me again, I can't remember if we covered this in Most Haunted, but the ancient Ram Inn, not the one I think we previously spoke about, but located in Wootton Under Edge. Did we discuss that one?
There's the Ram Inn, which we haven't.
There's so many
in detail, but we've covered it in passing with the succubus and whatever.
Well, this seemed to pop up a lot, and it seemed to be again another place which I can't remember covering it because it seems quite a dark history. But when the basement was kind of renovated, a lot of remains of child sacrifices, a lot of skeletal remains. It was the former owner, John Humphreys, reported on uncovering a grave basically at the foot of the basement staircase, accompanied by broken daggers, what seemed to be kind of sacrificial things. Could be linked to the place, which we did discuss this before, because I remember mentioning this, that it is a pagan burial ground. Confirmed. Visitors, again, are going to report all the kind of stuff. So I guess they got to go to the basement, but a lot of this was reported around childlike crying. No giggles in this one, just sad kids. again, coming from the basement. So it seemed to be the main thing. So it's widely believed that the redirection of the streams in the inn's property, and when I say streams, you've got a lot of ley lines and things like that happening with this building, which I know we definitely talked about before. So they kind of believe it's created a portal for dark energy. When I say they, anybody who's investigated the house. Basement is a focal point for this supernatural activity. And the portal is said to like amplify it. That's why they're getting all this stuff. Wasn't a lot of specific kind of instances that happened in this one, like with the other ones. As I mentioned, paranormal investigators come here. A lot of EMF meters and EVB recorders have caught a lot of things, but they always go to the basement. This seems to be where the main sort of stuff is kind of happening. And we know, due to the things that they found there, I can imagine some very not nice stuff happened. The actual inn itself, I mean, it has a lot of hauntings within it, so various other bits. So I'm not going to go into them, but I did just want to kind of run past this one with it being like, say, they seem to think there is a portal in the basement and it's letting stuff come through. The same ramming also brought up the attic. So I'll just run through a little bit of the story of the attic. So this is kind of like a double whammy. We've got the basement and the attic. Basically, don't go stay there. You're in for a bad time. So as well as all those sacrificial remains in the basement, in the attic, they found a lot of things, what they said related to devil worshippers. So again, daggers this time, but found, I guess, different to the one in the basement where they were all broken and used probably a long time ago.
So a certain brand that would give it away as a devil worshipper's dagger as opposed to anyone else's dagger. It's just the first thing when people find like a knife or something. It's like, oh, it's devil worshippers. It's not. Those guys. I mean, I'm not defending them in any way, but give them a break. You know, if they're not very good at being covert, if they keep doing this, you know, their activities are clearly frowned upon. So, you know, you'd think they clean up after themselves, you know, if they don't want to get caught. But yeah, it's always devil worshippers, and with nothing to back it up, we've just got to go away with the fact that it's devil worshippers. It could just be emos, you know, it could be anyone.
Ooh. I don't know, I think you've got to separate the two. When you're high on the devil, you're not going to be closing the doors behind you. I think the proper guys, the demonologists, the ones who get into it real.
The demon, yeah. These self-proclaimed demonologists.
Yeah, you've got it, haven't you? You're not going to uni for that.
Exactly. So yeah, it's a very reliable profession.
So we do have a bit of a murder story from the attic of this place. And it was the innkeeper's daughter in the early 1500s. So it goes way back. And a spirit is basically believed to just be up in that attic. People have reported intense atmosphere of melancholy, as you would. But yeah, that place is a bit of a double whammy.
So what happened to her? How do we know it's the landlord's daughter? Landlord's daughter? That Wicker Man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, 1500s. There was no real kind of like morals, I don't think, back in them days. She was murdered. Now she haunts it. It's just a bad place. But yeah, you think if he's doing that in the attic while there's all that sacrificial stuff going on in the basement, that must have been a messed up house, man. Truly.
Maybe she was murdered by the satanic cult.
Maybe. Through all the various attics and basements, there was a lot of stories which were just pretty much straight up creepy. So there was an attic in Wilkes Barre in Pennsylvania in 2008, owned by the Ferrant family. They experienced, again, unsettling noises, but this one might not be so paranormal. Around the home, Christmas time roughly was when they started hearing it really kind of ramp up. They attributed the sounds to the cats or children, so they kind of passed it off for a long time. But then items began disappearing. including the Christmas presents. So on the day after Christmas, they discovered footprints in the bedroom closet leading to the attic. When police investigated and found a homeless man who had been living there in the attic for pretty much the whole time. He had previously murdered the homeowner's husband in the same house and continued to hide there. Even after the crime scene was investigated, as the house was appeared locked from the inside, he managed to just basically hide in the attic, go unscathed for God knows how long, while this family just kind of got on about the business.
There's actually a name for people like that these days. It's a frog with a PH. People who live in people's attics without the actual homeowners knowing. And they change buildings as well, which is why they call themselves frogs as well, because they leap from pad to pad. But yeah, it's frogging apparently with a PH.
It seems like it'd be a lot of effort to keep it quiet in an attic. Do you know what I mean? As opposed to just someone's garden. Maybe in the basement it'd be easier, where it's got the door from the outside.
Beats rent and bills, yeah.
Yeah, true.
And when they're out all day, they go down, they use the toilet, they have a shower, fridge. You know, it's.
I suppose
Works.
you'd really have to get the family's comings and goings, I think. But hey ho. In 1922, in a farm in Germany, in Bavaria, this was the site of a gruesome murder. I'm not sure if you know this one, where 6 family members were killed with a mattock. I'm not sure what a mattock is. Days before the murder, the family reported strange occurrences, including footsteps in the attic and missing house keys. A maid had quit 6 months earlier, claiming the house was haunted due to all the noises she heard emanating from the attic during the day. After the murders, investigators found evidence that the killer had lived in the attic for several days, eating food from the kitchen and leaving traces basically all over the presence, but was just never found. So again, watch the family, see what they're doing, nick a bit of food, and then one day, take them out. That's what you do.
Well, a mattock, it's like a pickaxe, but it's with the flat. Instead of a spike, it's flat.
Okay. Yeah, I think I know what you mean. Yeah, I've got that in my head. Yeah, kind of brutal. I think that would mash the head in, but there you go. Guess you weren't there to make any friends. I think this one's fairly famous, but it's the Boise Murder House, known locally as the Chop Chop House. So this craftsman-style home was the site of a gruesome murder in 1987, where Daniel Rogers and Preston Mayer were killed by a hatchet in a drug-related incident. The basement is described as exuding haunting energy, with reports of cold spots, unexplained noises, and feelings of being watched. Neighbours and former renters have shared stories of feeling uneasy in the basement. So I think a lot of the stuff, well, from what I could gather, happened in the basement, and it was kind of grim. So I'm going to move on to some other stories and a few little kind of places from not just America and England, but in Indonesia, Jakarta, Old Town, a place called Toko Mera. So Toko Mera is a Dutch colonial building from the 18th century. So that's the name of the actual place. It was a site of the 1740 Batavia massacre. Again, this took place in an attic. So the attic is said to be a hotspot for paranormal activity, with constant reports of ghostly figures and screams linked to the historical violence that occurred there. Lots of eyewitness accounts on this one, so I think it's a place where ghost hunters, again, like to go. 2012, a group of paranormal investigators exploring Toko Mera reported hearing muffled screams, again, all emanating from the attic. They described this as a nightmare investigation. One member claimed to see a faint outline of a woman with a white gown near the attic stairs, which disappeared when approached. A lot of security guards have reported things on this building, quite often not really staying in the post for very long. A security guard stationed in the building in 2018 reported hearing shuffling and banging from the attic late at night. Despite confirming the area was locked and emptied, multiple reports are like this from various security guards. So yeah, that seemed to be again, it all emanates around places where they've had some kind of brutal history. So I was trying to maybe focus on houses because, I mean, the basement of a castle, it's not really a basement, is it? It's just a dungeon. A lot of kind of castles, especially in America, it seemed to be, you know, park hotels, that kind of thing. The Stanley Hotel which is famous for inspiring Stephen King's The Shining, has a very famous basement.
I think that's a whole bus journey of its own as well.
Oh, definitely, mate, because that basement seems to be massive. The basement itself houses a concert hall and loads of underground tunnels. So we might need to define a basement. A basement to me is the creepy little room at the bottom of your house, and the attic is the creepy little room at the top of your house. Do you know what I mean? If you're putting a concert hall in there, not really a basement.
Yeah, it's another floor, isn't it?
This is it. And all the staff of this place are constantly reporting. Again, it seems to have a pretty high turnover of staff. A lot of them describing things like the pianos going off. So a lot of poltergeist activity. And I'm guessing there's going to be, a fair bit of history to the place. Indonesia, East Jakarta, Menara Sada, and apologies if I've butchered that pronunciation. But Menara Sada, a 28-story office tower abandoned in 2007, again is notorious for paranormal activity within its basement. Local reports describe sightings of a lady in red, pretty much going through the colour scheme of the ladies. One security guard in 2010 claiming to have seen her standing motionless in the corner before vanishing. Other accounts include mysterious ride-hailing orders and post-deliveries originating from the abandoned basement. I have no idea what that is, but these have all been reported by local drivers and couriers.
What are couriers and drivers doing in the basement of an abandoned office building?
This is what I'm thinking.
I mean,
or if they're just hiding around, well, maybe taking the break around the places. I mean, I don't know.
So they generally tend to arrive on the ground floor of an occupied building. Does a courier or a delivery guy?
Yeah, I'm not really too sure, but I kind of got from that it's a ghost maybe phoning in cheeky orders, like what chavs do, but...
A cheeky ghost, a cheeky one.
So yeah, a lot of kind of reports and things around that one. Over to Sweden, the old vicarage, and this is going to be hard to pronounce, man, so I'm just going to go very slow. Borgvattnet, known as one of Sweden's most haunted houses. So, Sweden, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong on that, but there's a basement where priests and visitors reported unsettling experiences. So what were priests doing visiting the basement? Who knows?
Maybe called to bless it because other people had reported something.
This is it. In the 1940s, a priest named Eric Lindgren documented hearing heavy footsteps descending into the basement at night, only to find no one there. A later occupant in the 1970s, a guest staying at the vicarage, reported seeing a shadowy figure in the basement that vanished and approached. And it all seems to be these just kind of pretty much non-violent entities going about the business. Another account from 1981, a guest felt an oppressive presence and heard faint sobbing coming from the basement, which just seemed to get louder and louder. The vicarage's history of housing clergy and its remote, eerie setting pretty much kind of, I think gives it a lot of its spooky presence. But again, quite a few reports from that one. And these kind of sort of go on. I mean, for anyone that's interested in feeling the fear of an attic or a basement, there's so many stories out there because I think they're just popular horror stories. I mean, being a horror fan myself, it's cliche, but the hand coming through the basement steps as they're walking down. I always remember Chucky. That was a particularly grim death where he stabs his ankle as he's walking down the basement steps. Really terrifying scene in, what was it? Hereditary? No. Where he goes in... No, it was Hereditary, wasn't it? Because it was The Cult. I'm not sure if you've seen that film, but he goes in the attic and it's just wacky at the end, but it's terrifying.
It is a scary film, but far too many naked elderly people in it. Far too many for what it needed to do.
Hey, I'm all about a naked cult. That's my vibe. That's my jibe. But yeah, just anything revolving around those. I mean... I get it. If a ghost is going to roam through the kitchen of your house, might be fair play. But to me, no, it needs to be the basement. And I remember as a kid being terrified of the basement, just seeing in the hallway, looking up, the attic, and just seeing that square box, no ladders down. You had to push it up, And yeah, I just think we had an old house with beds in there and just used to hear all kinds of horrible shit at night. But like I say, only moving to Leeds did I experience a basement, and I've experienced some wacky basements. Definitely. What would you say your biggest fear? Basement or the attic? Or even neither?
Probably basement, but since watching, I can't remember if it was one of the remakes, the American remakes of either Grudge or Grudge 2, with that horrible little kid, his
Yeah.
face looking down from the attic hatch. That's too much.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
I think it was the first one, but yeah, that was horrid. But
That was
I
horrible.
mean, I think the most terrifying basement ever is nothing to do with the supernatural, and that's got to be Joseph Fritzl's basement.
Yeah, I knew he was going to say that
But
one.
as far as scary goes, yeah, I think cellars are my thing, but that's mostly because they're just always so cold and damp, and I don't know why, if it is because they're cold and damp or whatever, but if a light is going to not work, it's going to be in the bloody cellar. You know, I mean, our attic in this house, I'm fine with. I'm just a bit worried about spiders. But as far as it being scary, it's not at all. But in the house I lived in a while back, that had a cellar, and it was horrible, horrible. And again, the attic wasn't a problem, so it was actually converted into a bedroom, so that was fine. But
Fair play.
the basement there was horrible and damp and that. But a lot of houses in England, a lot of the older houses will have cellars anyway because of coal chutes and stuff.
Yeah. And would some of them have been used for like workers' quarters back in the day?
For the mills and that, yeah.
Yeah. And I always think, do you know what? If I'm really scared, I'm punching my way out of an attic. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's England. We have flimsy tile roofs. You're not getting out of the basement. It's thick brick and a floor. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's an attic to me. It's I'm getting out of there. If I see a ghost, I'm done.
Yeah, basements are uncomfortable, but at the same time, hospital B levels are not very nice
Yeah.
because that's usually where the morgues are. The smells didn't help with the
Yep. Amityville Horror.
shouting Janet up and down them stairs. That's not cool.
Yep.
There's also the haunting in Connecticut.
Yep.
That was the mortuary, was that basement.
Right.
So that's a bus journey of its own. Well, the film is called Haunting in Connecticut, but that is an entire case of its own. Yeah, okay, basements win for me. Attics, other than the Hernandez one, and the one in Paranormal Activity, I'm not too fussed for them.
Yeah. No, I agree. And what I found through the research, which I didn't want to go into in this episode because we have a tendency of maybe getting a little bit too dark. I wanted to keep this one fairly light, but most of the accounts were of pretty much guys torturing someone in the basement, kidnap, incest, you name it. I mean, there's been multiple films named after it, so it wasn't that. I had to search for the paranormal stories, again, of which when I got into down the rabbit hole, there was plenty, but a lot of bad stuff. Whereas the attic, again, seemed to be more people taking their own lives, a little bit of definitely more of a sadder place.
Well, that's it. It's not as easy to. It's not as easy to bring a hostage or a victim through the house if you're trying to keep it quiet. Whereas down the cellar steps, it's a bit easier.
Exactly, mate. But yeah, I'd recommend anybody who has a little bit of a fear of attics and basements just to do your own kind of deep dive, because I didn't want to go too much into all the plethora of stories, but there's everything there from, like I say, cryptids to dark stuff to
Three-legged dogs.
Yeah, three-legged dogs and a few humorous stories. But
Oh, I'll tell you who you missed, who lived in a attic, or if it was a cottage or a barn, it might have been the loft. But Jeff or Geff the mongoose.
Ah, was he an attic dweller?
At some point, yeah. That in a well.
He was, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Damn, if I missed him, I love Geff.
We'll be covering him anyway at some point.
Definitely. So, to all the cellar dwellers out there, I hope you enjoyed that one. And I will see you on the next one, Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, thank you, Lee. It's been a thrill.